Earlier, I spoke with Ádám Szabados. He's a leader of a group of churches in Hungary, and he tells of his experience just the day before of traveling to the Hungarian-Ukraine border and how he was involved in the reception of refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine, streaming into Hungary. There's going to be hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of refugees coming into his country and Poland and other neighboring countries as well. And Ádám talks about his harrowing experience that day and his general reflections on the situation and things we can pray for.
So some people from the church, so we wanted to do something. We are looking for ways to help the crisis. Since the war started, refugees are pouring into the country. These are real refugees from next door, escaping from the war. And
how much of your, just people can obviously Google Maps it, but how much of the Hungarian border is with Ukraine?
Well, some part, I don't know how many kilometers, but we have a common border with Ukraine. It's 5 hours from us, from Veszprém.
Okay.
So we are trying to help families get out of the country and get them settled. And we are looking for ways to help. There are so far, I don't know, maybe 150,000 Ukrainians fled to Hungary. Most of them are Hungarian speaking, but now Ukrainians are also pouring into the country, and it's growing fast. And there are estimates. I mean, this is very pessimistic scenario, but our president announced that let's be prepared that up to 7 million Ukrainians can leave the country. Yeah. Up to 7 million. Now it's in the million. And it's growing fast. So it's really something historic in its proportion. And so we have a national responsibility, and now Hungarians feel that because it's in our neighborhood. And so churches are moving, and in our church we are also thinking of how to help. And we have been collecting money for specific purposes, and also thinking of welcoming families. But some of us were also looking for ways of practical help.
Yeah.
So we got in touch with the Baptist charity, who are organizing some rescue efforts and created help centers. And so yesterday, 3 of us from the church got in a car and drove to the Ukrainian border, and it was heartbreaking to see what is happening there. So yeah, people come on foot, lots of them, thousands of them. They come to the border. The Ukrainians are stopping the progress because it's sad, but they want bribe money. And also they want to filter men out.
Yeah.
They cannot leave. Men cannot leave the country. They have to fight. So it's a slow process for them to come through. As soon as they get to the Hungarian side, they are put on buses and driven to a help center. And in that help center, they get food, drink, clothes, medicine, and they can write their needs up, and volunteers are coming and driving them to Budapest or the Czech Republic or Poland, where they want to go, or cities in Hungary.
Why did you go yesterday? Was it to see and feel it?
Because yes, that was part of it. Yeah. I just, for days, I had a it's difficult to explain, but my heart was exploding. I just felt that I don't want to write another article. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to analyze the situation. I want to get close to it, feel it, see it, help with hands. And so I couldn't rest. And then an opportunity came, a connection came. And my heart said suddenly, I want to go there. I want to go. And I told Dóra, and she said, go, go, go.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And there were many of us. Like, it's just such a tense situation, and there's so much energy right now, and this was one good way to I don't know, do something.
Yeah. And when you were there, did you talk with, or did you just observe from a distance what was happening, or were you
No. My job was to establish a table with some other volunteers right at the crossing.
Okay.
And stop the cars that came through. So some people came by car.
Yeah.
I mean, many people come by car. So we were not dealing with those who were in the buses. What we gave them food, but the food, chocolate and sugar and things like that, were drinks, water, were distributed by rescue operations. But we had those who came through by car, and it was the same pattern. I stopped the car. I had a special waist, so I could do that.
Vest.
Sorry?
Vest.
Sorry, vest. So I stopped the car, greeted them, and gave them the water, gave them food, and asked them where they came from. Most of them said they were from Kiev, the capital, or Mariupol.
Yeah.
Some from Donetsk.
Yeah.
So from real distances, they came from real distances where the war is going on. They said bombs were being dropped near them, and they had to urgently escape. And Kiev, they had to leave Kiev before it was surrounded. And so I asked them where they came from. They said it, and then they broke into tears, like almost every single time, 99%. They just broke into tears. And the cars were usually, there was a woman driving it. So usually the mother, children behind it, and grandma on the right front seat, or a sister or someone. So 2 or 3 women and children, no men.
Yeah.
So I think that was the moment when they realized that they escaped the war, but their lives were left behind, and also their men. So it was just incomprehensible what they were going through. And for 9 hours I was doing the same. I didn't want to eat. I didn't feel the freezing cold, because it was just so, I don't know, it was so difficult to even comprehend the situation.
Yeah. Once you are there, you want to make the best of the day that you have, make the best use of your time.
Yeah.
And there's probably there's no good reason to stop, in a way, because you're thinking these guys have made many more sacrifices than me. So for this day, I'm going to stay here and just keep going with it. Presumably millions may come into Hungary, but millions may also go into Poland as well. So it's
twice or 3 times as many go to Poland.
Okay. That's almost like the population of Ukraine, or maybe the female and children population of Ukraine, because it seems, just listening to people, that the two alternatives are to fight or to leave. The population doesn't seem minded to become subservient, to just cave in. So those seem to be the two options. You either have to leave the country, or you stay and fight. But
yes.
Is that fair? No one seems to want to say, well, we'll just stay here and we'll just accept a new regime.
It seems to me, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know, but talking to people, that's my impression too. I have a good friend who really well knows the situation in the Ukraine so much that when I had talked to him in December, he told me that they were very anxious in the Ukraine that Russia will invade the country. And I said, you mean the Donbas region, so the Russian-speaking eastern part? And he said, no, Kiev, that they would come in and come up to Kiev and occupy the country. That was the first time when I realized that they were really serious about this, and we were not. I mean, I could not imagine this scenario. I mean, logically, I could understand why Russia would do that, but I could not imagine that he would actually do that. So he said he's organizing a lot of aid from Poland, so between Poland and Kiev, and he told me that Ukrainians will fight and not give up. And because of that, he is sure that Russia will not be able to win this war. So I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not a military expert or anything, but from what he said, I sensed the resolve that Ukrainians will fight and will not give up.
No, the resolve, from all the press we see, the resolve is very strong. Obviously, that means the cost will be very high.
Yes.
Because although it's not very admirable giving up very easily, in terms of loss of life, giving up easily obviously save lots more lives. So I think most observers, military observers, would think it's going to be a long and very costly set of battles, and then an insurgency probably that goes on for a long time. In terms of your kind of organization in Hungary, that you're connected with, the Baptist organization, anything particularly we should be aware of, to pray about, or that's needed?
Well, this whole situation is escalating at a rapid and frightening scale.
Yeah.
And we need to be wise. My worry is that now there is a great enthusiasm to help.
Yeah.
But the burden will be bigger and bigger. Yeah. And if people stretch beyond their capabilities, they can go back on their commitments and become more hardened toward helping, because that's a human way of coping with unwise commitments.
Yeah.
That's my fear, that I'm trying to tell people that you should know what you help, why you do that, how much you can do that, what is your limitation. Offer only as much as you are willing to offer. Go beyond your comfort zone, but think twice before you make a commitment, and don't make a commitment at the moment under maybe emotional an emotional impact that the news have on you, or manipulation.
Yeah.
Just make sure how much you want to give. Like 1 Corinthians 16, Paul says that before I go there, decide how much you want to give.
Yeah.
So that's my. So maybe you can pray that Hungarian Christians can make wise decisions now, generous decisions, but wise decisions based on good judgment. Yeah,
and spiritually kind of overview, and I know you stopped writing and went to the border instead, but in your reflection spiritually, do you, I mean, we can all talk about the sovereignty of God, but in the particular providence that's happening right now, do you see spiritual lessons for us?
Oh yes, yes. The day Russia attacked the Ukraine, I was reading the book of Joel, and Joel is telling the people of God that you have to tell your children and their children's children what happened, because something historical happened. And then he says what was eaten by the locust was what was left by the locust was eaten by the, and I don't know those animals right now in English. So and then he says that God wants to wake you up from your drunkenness. And that was, so when I read that, I'm rarely hit by a Bible passage as powerfully as that morning, that we are here in the West, and Hungary is in the West in that equation now. We in the West are drunken with peace, with wealth, with a comfortable life, and the Lord is waking us up. So that's what I understood then, that the Lord is telling us to wake up from your drunken state and lift your eyes up.
And I think that's it's a balancing thing where I think as good neighbors, we want peace, we want preservation of life.
Yes, of course.
And for our children as well, we want our children to survive and not be hit by an escalating war that encompasses the whole of Europe and maybe includes nuclear arms. I think it's right to not want that to happen and to pray against that. But at the same time, I think as Christians, we feel the weakness of the West in kind of morally and in terms of moral and spiritual leadership. And you kind of want us to remain safe, but you also want us to be disciplined by this at the same time. You don't want us to be overrun in order to be disciplined, but you kind of accept something needs to happen to help us realize our fragility and to some degree our moral depravity.
Yes, and
that doesn't justify the war. Go on.
And I agree. I completely agree. And it's because our problem is primarily, I believe, not immorality, but godlessness. So that's where I see the wake up call, that it's not just a wake up from your immorality, but wake up from your godlessness. That your entire life is structured around this world, and the supernatural of God, the person of God, the kingship of God is eradicated from our lives. So that's where I sense the wake up call, that God says, I am the God, still I am the God, and not you are not the God. And it's funny, but not funny, sorry, it's not the right word. It's
I understand how to use funny.
Yeah, right. That no one talks about COVID anymore. And suddenly no one has a problem with the fact that men are fighting in the Ukraine. Men are not allowed to let the country. I mean, where is gender equality? Where is the fight for equal opportunity or equal whatever? It's men who fight. So and women are leaving, and no one has a problem with that. And I think it's because we have a reality check right now.